A substantial increase in the cost of higher education promises to be a hot debate in the next legislative session, and among area legislators, a difference of opinion has already developed. Senator Carl Parker, a member of the Senate Finance Committee, finds the raising of college tuition fees 100% contradictory to Governor Bill Clement's stand against new taxes.
Well, in an era of no new taxes, I think it's a little premature to double the tax on college students when we haven't increased the tax on crude oil leaving Texas since 1949. I would first look to natural resources that are being depleted in this state. Really, they belong to everybody in a way, and we've not looked to those since 1949, as I said, for an increase, which is a tribute to the strength of the big oil lobby in this state.
Over in the House and the other side of the fence, State Representative Bo Crawford, who is a member of the Committee for Higher Education, but not the special committee which made the latest tuition recommendation, claims it may be time for tuition to go up.
We have to look at what our fees are in relation to what other college students are paying, across the nation. And at the present time, the tuition that students pay in Texas, we rank right at the bottom. I think only California, where it's a tuition-free, type of environment, whereas in Texas the fee has been $50 for tuition. Furthermore, the tuition has not been raised in Texas in about 15 years or so.
While Representative Crawford claims it's really too early to tell what the effect of such a tuition increase would be, the former Lamar Dean of Student Affairs says he will probably support a substantial tuition increase. Tonight on The Update, what the tuition increase could mean to Lamar University, and even more importantly, the student it will affect the most. Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News. Doubling college tuition would increase costs for a student with a full course load by $120. But Lamar University President Robert Kimball doesn't find that so terrible.
So we're talking about an extra $120 a year. That's 5 tanks of gasoline these days. And while nobody wants an extra $120 a year, well, that's what it amounts to. And besides that, and there's an important point here, we have a policy that states, and we have lived by it, that no student who shows need will be denied an education at Lamar.
Dr. Kimball claims the increase won't affect the needy student or the high income. With 50% of LU's enrollment receiving some form of federal aid to attend college, they'll still be able to, with federal aid making up the difference in increased tuition fees. The high income will manage. But a marginal middle income segment, the young married, the part-timer, is where the real problem lies.
As being a married student, it's harder for us because going to school and trying to keep a job and raising children, it's puts you in a bind, and I don't know, it's going to be hard.
But still, Dr. Kimball contends that Lamar University won't lose more than 5% enrollment, and it won't lose its competitiveness with other state-supported colleges.
We have kept our fees austere, and we've kept our other costs down so that we compare with sister institutions about our size in the state, we're the lowest, and we intend to stay in that position.
Still, some middle-income families will have to struggle even more to get a higher education.
I'd have to persevere, probably work more hours at the hospital.
Barbara Bedrick, Channel 6 News.
It leaves the zones, the present attendance zones of the Port Arthur Independent School District in place. Secondly, it leaves the majority to minority transfer provisions in place. It says that the singleton ratio for faculty assignment should be modified to an extent that they will be complied with. And fourthly, is where the magnet school concept comes about, whereby the magnet schools will be added. Voluntary magnet schools will be added to the present plan of desegregation of the Port Arthur Independent School District. But those schools will only be attended by people who wish to go there.
A proposal discussed this afternoon in the workshop session of City Council is a communications link between the fire department and all private ambulance companies. Beaumont Mayor Maury Myers believes the proposal is a good one and may help solve some of the problems.
And I don't know for sure if this communications link will answer that, but I think it certainly will be the forerunner to knowing since we'll know where everyone is, we'll better be able to understand why maybe we couldn't respond and if further support in the ambulance area is necessary.
Issue new permits for these ambulances.
This is the communications room of the Beaumont Fire Department. It is here where nearly 60% of all calls for ambulances originate. Captain Hill, who is in charge of the ambulance division for the city, says he would welcome workshop to help clear up some of the problems.
It happens 3 or 4 times a week on an average that there is no ambulance available. And we do call ambulances for the citizens in lots of cases, not all the time, but if they request our help and can't get one and don't know the other companies, then we go ahead and try to get them an ambulance.
It should be pointed out that the fire department would not serve as a central dispatch for ambulance calls, but rather keep track of where each one is. Jim Oliver in Beaumont, Channel 6 News.
When the mail arrived today, the district got a letter from the Justice Department. We asked Superintendent Dr. Frank Cutlady what the letter said.
Well, the Office of Civil Rights has declared that we are now in compliance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Any stipulations?
The stipulations are that we must comply with the assurances that we have sent them in 2 memorandums of May the 13th and the 23rd.
What are those assurances?
There are about 7. The first one being that within the next 3 years we will have 18% minority principals. Secondly, that Mr. Andrew Hayes will be elevated to the position of principal. Third, that we will continue to recruit at universities which have a high concentration of minority students. Fourth, that we will continue to work with IDRA from San Antonio to develop, to fine-tune really our procedure to select principals that meets the Office of Civil Rights criteria. That we will pay Mr. Embry Mosby a determined sum of money for the difference in his salary when he was changed from a principal to an assistant principal back in the late 60s, and that we will give consideration to Mr. Huey Allen for the next secondary vacancy that becomes available. One other item is that Mr. Charlie Brown would be returned as principal to the Franklin Learning Center, the job he held prior to his transfer to the Transportation Department.
The discrimination charge had also put the district in doubt about some $300,000 of federal assistance. The Justice Department ruling still didn't say whether West Orange Cove is eligible for that money. We'll keep you informed on that situation. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
The Port Arthur Independent School District has released test scores from the Texas Assessment Test of Basic Skills. The report says the district's 5th and 9th grade students received high marks in reading skills.
In the area of math, we had 3 objectives where the mastery was a little bit less than what we would like to have. But we had 9 objectives that we considered to be either adequate, either to be superior, or to be exceptional.
Okay. What about 9th grade?
The 9th grade level, we had a similar situation where we had of 11 reading objectives. We had once again 7 that were mastered to our satisfaction, and we had 4 that we need to consider. We need to consider that in terms of how it's taught, where it's taught, and to what extent it's taught. In the area of math, there were 4 areas of 12, 4 objectives out of 12, where we consider the student achievement to be somewhat less than what we would like.
The test results presented to the Port Arthur Independent School Board trustees also indicate 5th graders have some limited problems using geometric terms and solving written problems. The report shows 5th and 9th graders scored high on handwriting skills. Dr. Reed says the test results will be used to improve the district's math and reading programs. In Port Arthur, Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
The Beaumont Fire Department received 183 deliberate false alarms last year, and it used to be that only about 5% of the callers could be located. But thanks to modern technology and Ma Bell, that number has increased. The phone company's electronic switching system allows experts to trace bogus calls. And Fire Chief Pete Shelton says the new system has made a dramatic increase in the number of false callers being caught.
In the past, our success was very limited, probably less than 5%. But approximately a little over a year ago, Southwestern Bell implemented a electronic switching system, ESS system, where within a matter of minutes we can receive information as to the caller, where the false alarm is being called in from, to our fire alarm headquarters. And this year, during 1980, our clearance rate has been about 70%. As a matter of fact, we've cleared 35 false alarms up to today.
The city of Beaumont has lost a $92,000 pumper truck en route to a false alarm call in the past, but the dollar value is unimportant when you consider the threat of personal injury and even death to a firefighter speeding down a city street, or the lack of available equipment for a real emergency when the deliberate false alarms are turned in. Chief Shelton points out that the new system has been effective this year, and he says he hopes the department's ability to trace the calls will discourage those callers who would deliberately turn in a false alarm. David Lowell, Channel 6 News.
Gas can explosions. They are very common during the summer months. Drivers carry a full can in the trunk of their car during vacations, while homeowners store the gasoline containers in the hot sun when mowing lawns. Both incidents set themselves up for dangerous blasts.
We had 2 small children about 2 weeks ago that were burned because of the misuse of gasoline. I want to encourage people to keep in mind that gasoline is a flammable liquid, and it's designed for one specific purpose, and that is to use in a combustible type of engine, not to clean floors with or clean tools or other things like that. There are solvents that are designed to do that. But gasoline should be stored properly, and keep in mind that it is very dangerous when it's misused.
The rising incidence of gas can explosions prompted the state legislature to pass a law regulating what kind of containers can be used to hold gasoline. Acceptable cans are made of metal and allow for ventilation. In addition, the fire department has additional suggestions as to how these containers should be used and stored.
It should be stored in a separate building or facility away from the home because of the vapors.
In general, gas cans should be approved for use by Underwriters Laboratories or a similar inspecting firm. And a label on the outside of the can should tell you if the can does meet specifications for safety. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
A few weeks ago, we reported that your water and sewer bills were going up. Well, unfortunately, it appears now we have some more bad news. This morning, Orange City Councilman set a public hearing. The reason? A possible $10.50 increase in your electric bill.
There's 2 or 3 causes, one of which is inflation, of course, which anybody can understand. Of course, there's also the increased cost of money. We're a capital-intensive corporation, and we need lots of money, and it's been going up. And then there is the government regulations, and that we're not allowed to build any more gas or oil-fired plants, and we're having to go to coal and nuclear plants, and these are considerably more expensive than what we've been able to build in the past.
City fathers have scheduled a public hearing on the rate increase for July 8th at 10 a.m. Those wishing to express their opinions or find out more about the proposed increase can do so then here at City Hall. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
Martin Hebert owns about 370 acres of soybean fields, and he's planted every bit of it in the past month or so. 190 acres planted before the last rain are growing soybeans. This field and others haven't begun. Soybeans usually take about 24 hours to sprout. This field was planted 3 weeks ago, and only a few areas show any sign of vegetation. Soybeans are facing the biggest threat of the drought in Jefferson County. Diseases prosper during poor growing conditions, and herbicides used on the beans need rain to be effective, so weeds may prosper unless it rains. Martin Hebert has invested about $80 an acre here, and when that's translated to include all the farmland in the county, agricultural agent Ed Weaver says the dollars add up.
Well, totally, we've got maybe 40-45% of the crop that 25,000 acres that say that's in real trouble.
Now, that's a lot of space, and it's kind of hard to visualize. What's this going to mean in dollars and cents to the farmers around here?
Well, it's a real difficult thing. If we would get the moisture now, I think we'd pull out of it all right. But if we don't, we're looking probably at $2.75 to $3 million loss to the agricultural economy. And then when you go to putting the impact of this to the total economy, we're looking at probably close to $9 million.
Now, is this your only crop, or are you growing other things that you're having trouble with also?
No, I've got some rice, but we can water the rice and take care of the moisture for it. As long as the rain's up above, keep the dams full, we're all right on the rice.
But the soybeans?
Soybeans in trouble, as far as I'm concerned.
And lest anyone think the problem will be limited to the farmers, consider that soybeans feed livestock and poultry, and soybean oil is used as a low-fat, low-cholesterol oil in cooking, so the drought could affect far more agricultural products. And the economic effects of a drought will be much harder in the southern United States because the warmer weather got planting started earlier. The southern farmers are paying interest rates higher than northern farmers, who got the benefit of falling interest rates later in the spring. David Lowell, Channel 6 News.
Even if Southwest Airlines charged double what they charge now, the airline will not stay in the Golden Triangle. That's according to Howard Putnam, president of Southwest Airlines. City and county officials in the Golden Triangle requested Southwest to consider charging more for flights to and from the Jefferson County Airport for the next 90 days that Southwest will be here to see if a profit could be made. Profit, or rather the lack of it, is the reason Southwest is leaving. Putnam told Channel 6 News late today that the board of directors met yesterday and determined that flights would have to be cut back and double ticket prices would have to be charged. The board voted against raising prices, claiming they could not do this for just one city. Beaumont Mayor Maury Myers told Channel 6 News while the decision not to charge more has been defeated, the situation is not over yet. The mayor urged businesses and individuals to write to Southwest Airlines, urging them to stay. Myers also said that the replacement airline for Southwest, Air Texana, should also be encouraged in their efforts to begin service. Texana announced last week they would petition federal authorities for permission to fly to Love Field in Dallas, the home of Southwest Airlines. We'll continue to monitor the activities of Southwest and Air Texana and report any new developments. Bruce Cates, Channel 6 News.
Recently, employees of the Southern States Steel Company joined the Teamsters Union Local 920. Thereafter, the union negotiated with Southern State for a new contract which primarily calls for higher wages, plus more benefits, better working conditions, and a grievance procedure. But no agreement was reached between Southern State Steel and 24 of its employees. In the opinion of union representative Gene Howard, Southern State Steel offered very little in the course of negotiations.
The offers were so minimum they were completely unacceptable.
Okay, are there any grievances at this time between workers and company?
None, except we hadn't been able to reach an agreement.
To get the company's view, we contacted the supervisor of Southern State Steel, John Swift. Swift agreed that negotiations had taken place and that neither party could reach agreement. Swift further added that business at the steel company had slowed down a bit, but he intends for the steel company to keep operating whatever it takes. At this time, it doesn't appear that the pickets will come down anytime soon because both sides have reached an impasse. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
The trustees of the Beaumont Independent School District voted to give the teachers a $3,000 pay increase over state salary schedules. Last month, representatives from the Beaumont Classroom Teachers Association presented a contract proposal to the school board, which includes an 8.3% pay increase. The teachers had also asked that monies from the district's Social Security program go back to the teachers in the form of a pay raise or fringe benefits. But apparently the negotiations between the school board and the Beaumont Classroom Teachers Association have ended with the trustees' decision.
This year we went to $3,000, which was an increase of $500 in the amount to the teachers. This means that we're now paying $3,000 to the teachers above the state level. This is very competitive to the other districts in this area. We feel like this is well deserved for our teachers. We feel like we have looked at the budget, studied it, and this is what we feel like that we can afford, and in all good conscience, for the taxpayers of this district and for the teachers of this district.
They did not mention Social Security money, and I think this will disappoint teachers. They said that this was all the money that the district had at the present time. So I can tell you after I hear teacher reaction about that.
Buscemi says she will meet with the members of the Beaumont Classroom Teachers Association to discuss the matter further. We will monitor the situation for you and let you know of any new developments. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
When it opened in February, the $7 million Lecture Theater was labeled the finest facility of its kind. Its purpose?
There'll be value for the people who come to see it, both culturally and economically.
Economically is the problem. 5 months later, utility bills are $55,000 more than anticipated. Of 40 shows, only 20 have made money.
We're new in the city. This area, to my way of thinking, is a home entertainment type of area, very family-oriented area. And we're asking people to break up their lifestyle and come out to the theater, and it's going to take some time to do that. And I think that in another 2 or 3 years, we'll have people coming in 2-3 times a month, compared to maybe the once a month or once every 2 months that they've been coming in up to now.
In the meantime, what's the plan to deal with the economic situation?
Well, we've set up a program where we'll be presenting 15 shows during the period of September to May of 1980-81, which coincides with the bus and truck or the national tour season. We'll be very cautious when we book anything in the May to September period. The City Council has asked that the theater not be booked pending a study of the utility costs.
While the theater is having problems in its infancy, officials say it's just that, an infant. And as it continues to grow, so too will the city tax base, because of the various businesses being drawn to Orange because of the theater, including a hotel that is expected to open soon nearby, and because of the wages being paid the workers who are doing that construction, which is being spent here in Orange. From Orange, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
Our Contact 6 story begins with a call last week from Harry Oberg of Beaumont. He was and is concerned about the fate of Woody Carter, a Mauriceville man wounded while trying to turn away would-be thieves from his neighbor's gun shop. This is where Woody's story begins. On November 12th of last year, Woody was alerted by his dog late that night and saw a car with several men in it stopped near the gun shop. Woody left his camper trailer with a 12-gauge shotgun he had never fired before and thought was loaded. It was not. When he approached the car and asked the men to leave, one of them in the back seat of the car raised up and shot him with a .38 caliber pistol.
They shot a total of either 8 or 11 times. That's how many holes was in my coat. They hit me twice. They burnt me across the neck. And this shot that went inside of me and done all the damage. Well, it hit my lung, shattered my backbone, and cut my spinal cord in two.
As a result of that attempt to protect his neighbor's property and well-being, Woody is now paralyzed from the waist down. He's had surgery twice and been in and out of the Orange Memorial Hospital numerous times. His business, which he once hoped would support his wife and 5 children, is now gone.
Well, we've just started getting right at $600 of Social Security. We applied for AFDC, that Aid for Dependent Families with Children. They wouldn't give us that. We applied for every aid that was supposed to be available, and they gave us SSI, which is a supplementary income, only to me, $208 a month for about 5 or 6 months.
Woody receives Social Security payments of about $600 a month, but this is not enough to feed and clothe his family of 7 and pay for his medical needs, much less keep a roof over their heads.
We worked and stayed on our property, bothered nobody, asked nobody for it. We were there broke, hungry, with nothing to eat when we started out there. Many a time we've been there without anything to eat, but we didn't ask anybody until I got down.
Trust fund accounts have been set up at the Texas Bank of Beaumont and the County National Bank of Orange to help Woody Carter make the down payment on a house where he and his family can pick up the pieces of their lives now shattered by gunfire. But what about the men involved in this shooting? Orange County Sheriff Ed Parker told us this afternoon they are still actively investigating that November shooting. If you have a problem we can help you with, call us at Contact 6 at 892-6622.
McManus has been on death row for 3 years. Besides his initial complaint of inadequate representation, McManus says his former defense attorney told him to jump bond and go to Florida, so more publicity would be generated, forcing a change of venue. McManus was arrested in Florida, but there was no change of venue. The attorney in question is Don Smith. Smith is now married to McManus' ex-wife, Regina. Today, prosecutors Corky Roberts and Ken Magidson and McManus' new defense attorney, Mark Vela, all questioned the former Mrs. McManus. Regina Smith told the attorney she'd seen Don Smith several times. She admitted they'd had an affair, but she said the affair happened after the trial. And Regina told the court she's convinced Don Smith did his best for Vernon McManus. Throughout his ex-wife's testimony, McManus stared into space or shook his head in apparent disagreement at several of her statements. Judge I.D. McMaster has ordered Don Smith to hand over all documents relating to the McManus case. Smith begged the court today not to force release of the legal paperwork. Smith told the judge the relationship between client and attorney should be kept sacred. There will be no decision on a new trial for Vernon Eugene McManus made here in Houston. That decision will be made in Austin by the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals once they review the transcripts from the hearing. And that decision probably won't be made for at least another month.
We couldn't see the traffic was stopped. We got... Because you're not. But yes, you are. I want to grab an interview with y'all right quick. Just, y'all tell me just a minute.
When the next class at the Beaumont Police Academy graduates, 50% of the officers on the street will have less than 1 year of experience, and 75% of them will have less than 2 years of experience. To make matters worse, the police department loses an average of 23 trained officers each year. Is there a solution to the problem? The most obvious might be money, but according to Chief of Police Willie Bauer, more money would be nothing more than a good start.
I'm not sure that money is the answer to the whole thing. It certainly would make a sizable contribution to it, but just how much the tax structure in the city of Beaumont could afford toward that end, I'm really not qualified to say. That's something that the people are going to have to face.
Bauer contends that as long as employment standards remain high at the Beaumont Police Department, local industry will continue to hire our police officers away. He further contends that a reduction of employment standards is not and will not be considered.
First, you have to recognize that we are not going to drop our standards. This is going backwards. It's never been this department's philosophy to go backwards under my leadership as chief. We want to go forward. So you shouldn't even entertain the possibility of reducing the standards.
City Councilman Tom Combs believes that adequate police protection must be the top priority of the city budget. He favors paying Beaumont police officers more money, but not necessarily by raising more taxes.
First of all is realizing that it is a tough job and that it does take a special type of individual to perform the job. And I think we have to realize that and compensate by making sure the salaries are realistic and competitive with private industry.
Combs also believes that recruitment efforts directed at area high school and college students, particularly at minority students, would also help ease the situation. There is then no immediate solution to a problem facing any city with high police standards and a budget already stretched almost to the breaking point. Chief Bauer and his police department will have to continue doing the best they can with a force smaller and less experienced than they would like. Albert Zipp, Channel 6 News.
Rush, according to its distributor, is supposed to be a liquid incense, but Pacific Western Distributing Company admits that many youths are now inhaling it directly out of the bottle to get high. It is sold at some novelty shops. It contains nitrite, which is used in smaller quantities in many perfumes. It comes in a tiny bottle which contains just 0.4 of an ounce of the chemical and costs over $5. The distributor contends that they've tried to discourage this sniffing of Rush by putting on the label, "Not for sale to minors," but they also admitted that it would be hard to regulate sales to minors. We asked Pacific Western why they labeled it Rush, pointing out that this name tends to encourage its use as a drug to get high on. A company spokesman replied, "That's a good question." The distributor also sent us a copy of a study done on Rush. This study, paid for by the manufacturer, generally reports that the product is safe and that effects due to inhalation will not cause any permanent damage and last only a short time. The study reveals that Rush will cause a person's blood pressure to fall and the heart rate to speed up. That's why a user will appear flushed or red. But once you stop sniffing, this symptom, the study says, disappears within about 2 minutes. It can also cause weakness, dizziness, and even fainting, and can produce throbbing headaches. Area physicians that we spoke to about Rush don't believe that these studies are comprehensive enough, and they warn that while the side effects of Rush may not damage, using it, for example, when you drive can be very dangerous since fainting and dizziness are likely. Mostly, they ask us to warn parents that this incense is being abused by adolescents.
Viewers of last night's Channel 6 News met this man, Martin Hebert. He owns more than 360 acres of land planted with soybeans. 190 acres of that land was planted before the last rain. They grew, but are now having problems maturing. The soybeans planted after the last rain are in trouble.
We've got 360 acres, 370 acres planted that we don't have half a stand. And they're just not coming up. We don't have no moisture, then not to bring them up.
At $80 an acre, Hebert stands to lose a lot of money if the rains don't fall. His rice crop is okay as long as there is water in the dam, so rice is in good shape so far. But through a lack of foresight by the government, Hebert might wish his problem was with rice and not with soybeans.
If you're looking for possible USDA assistance, I'm sure you would want it reversed because there is no disaster program for soybeans like there is for rice.
The government program passed in 1977 offers partial compensation to disaster crops, which includes rice, but not soybeans.
Soybeans were really not in the picture quite at that point like they are now. Therefore, soybeans just weren't given the consideration in programs that perhaps now that they could be.
In this area, a drought is official when it lasts for a month. At that point in time, farmers can apply for the disaster money. Soybean producers will have to wait until 1981 until their crop is included in the Congressional Disaster Relief Bill. For Martin Hebert and others like him, that news is not very comforting.
What is also not very comforting is the fact this heat wave should continue for the foreseeable future. With temperatures near 100 degrees, we can expect the possibility of hazardous health conditions for at least the next few weeks. Already 2 people have died in the Dallas area due to heat stroke. There are ways, however, you can minimize the threat that this heat wave could present. One of the simplest things you can do to prevent heat stroke during this heat wave is to slow down. Your body can't do its best in hot weather. You should move to a cooler environment when you feel your body becoming too hot. You can also drink plenty of liquids while the hot spell lasts. Dress in lightweight, light-colored clothing. You can also eat less foods like protein that increase metabolic heat production. Don't get too much sun. Sunburn makes the job of heat dissipation much more difficult. You should also acclimate yourself gradually to hot weather. Keep your heat exposure time down. If you work or play in the sun, try to get out of it several times a day. And finally, contrary to popular belief, you should not take salt tablets unless your doctors cleared them for you. Excessive salt is extremely dangerous to some people with certain undiagnosed diseases. These safety tips should prevent heat stroke, which is a serious medical condition requiring immediate attention.
Unfortunately, some folks have to work outside during the hot days. It's the nature of their business. Take these construction workers, for example. They have no choice but to work on the new Gulf States Utilities building in downtown Beaumont, whether they're working down in a hole or behind the wheel of some heavy equipment. They know they have to brave the heat. What's the worst part of the job?
The hot, and the dirt. They're backfilling and stuff, flying dust, stuff like that. But it's a good job. It's as good as any job in town. You got to work. Man, got to work to make a living.
I've got to make a living somehow. So that's what I'm out here doing.
You don't mind working out in the heat?
Oh, no, I'm used to it. I've done it all my life. You get sweaty and what little wind's blowing, I help you keep cool. Well, I tell you, when it gets hot like this, I begin to feel that wind blowing off them Rocky Mountains up there, and I want to go north.
So these men earn their daily bread out here in the hot sunshine, trying not to think that they could bake their bread in the heat. But the job doesn't allow much time for thinking about those kinds of things. The new Edison Plaza has to go up, and the workers are building higher toward the sun. David Lowell, Channel 6 News.
Mabel Turner was appointed program coordinator at the Best Years Center in mid-April of this year. Since that time, more than 1,800 senior citizens have signed up for classes in macrame, exercise, group sing-alongs, and the like. Mabel Turner's letter of resignation, which was received yesterday at the Parks and Recreation Department of the City of Beaumont, came as something of a surprise. According to the director of the city's Parks and Recreation Department, Mabel Turner claimed a degree in nursing from Dillard University in New Orleans.
The job description in the beginning called for a college degree. And we later, after we had hired her, had found out that she did not have a college degree. But that wasn't necessarily the reason for her resignation.
Did she indicate on the application that she did have a degree, and then you subsequently found that she did not?
This is true.
Mrs. Turner was reluctant to discuss her reasons for resigning, except to say that her resignation had nothing to do with an apparent discrepancy on her application for employment. That is not
That is not the reason.
Okay. All right, good.
No, that is not the reason. And in fact, I think it should be said here that I have no ill feelings against the city, and likewise, I'm sure.
Regardless of her qualifications for the job, Mabel Turner accomplished a lot as program director, and she hopes that her decision to leave the Best Years Center won't encourage others to leave as well.
Just because I'm leaving, I wouldn't think that would be any reason for the senior citizens to quit coming.
Albert Zipp, Channel 6 News.
Alice. How does one describe Alice? As a playful character? A man you'd like your daughter to go out with? impeccably dressed, handsome, a pacifier. Gentleman. A bright-eyed young man. A flirt. Sexually appealing. Of Earl Campbell's stature. Sociable. Not a put-on or a pretender. Un-American. And about his music, classical. Country and Western. Well, Alice is just Alice. Alice Cooper, the originator of glitter rock.
For a brief moment, you may get the feeling that you are a part of a cattle auction, only to look around and find yourself surrounded by a multitude of fresh, homegrown vegetables. Fresh vegetables at the farmers market aren't all that unusual, but the Neches Valley Vegetable Growers Association Show and Sell was, as farmers from Beaumont and 13 surrounding counties brought their pride and joys to be shown, judged, and possibly auctioned off. Lou Malcolm, member of the Beaumont Chamber of Commerce Agribusiness Committee, says the produce brought to the show is the best around.
You as a buyer is going to buy the best looking tomatoes or the corn that you can buy. So honestly, what the produce that's put out here is number one. If it isn't number one, it won't sell because it has to compete against all the other buyers on these markets. You can walk up and down this line and you'll find some of the best sweet corn in this area, and it's all been picked this morning, probably right after daybreak.
Vegetables picked out as blue ribbon quality ranged anywhere from beans to corn to hot peppers and even watermelons. This year's grand champion was this half bushel of okra, which was auctioned off for $250. Rules governing the vegetable entry stated that all vegetables had to be of superior quality and nothing but homegrown. Terry Elliott, Channel 6 News.
The Texas Assessment Test of Basic Skills was given to 5th and 9th grade students in Texas to measure achievement levels in mathematics and writing. Lowell Clark, the head of the testing and research for the South Park District, explains the results to the board.
The percentages of students mastering the different subject areas according to campus. Notice we've listed the schools, we've listed the number of students tested by school, and we listed the math, reading, and writing area, showing the percentage of those students that mastered those areas. At Forest Park High School, we'll notice 90% of the students mastered reading. That was their high point. 83% mastered writing. That was their low point, with math in the middle at 85. Hebert's high point was writing with 48%. Math was a low area with 37%, and reading in the middle at 39%. South Park High School, the high point was math with 57%. Reading and writing were tied at 54% mastery at those schools.
The results indicate lower test scores in reading and mathematics in the South Park School District's predominantly black schools. For example, 85% of the 9th grade students at Forest Park High, which is mostly white, could solve math concept problems. 57% of the 9th grade students at South Park, which is about half black and white, could solve math concept problems. But however, at predominantly black Hebert High, only 37% of the 9th grade students could solve math concept problems.
Reasons for students scoring either high or low on any kind of test, such as achievement or criterion reference, I would like to point out that economic deprivation or educational deprivation has a significant influence on test scores of any kind. It's been proven in research time and time again that students from lower socioeconomic levels, students from homes where education does not have a high priority, students who maybe watch too much TV at home, and some of our tests have been given with that kind of question: how much TV do you watch?
These test results will be used to improve some of the programs that teach mathematics and writing skills. Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
Protesting residents from that area prevented that annexation. Now the city wants to annex 781 acres of land all around Vidor. But Mayor Al Briggs says this proposal is not what it appears to be.
We already had the field notes, maps, and everything of these areas. So I decided to bring it before the council and ask for public hearing and let the public come up and tell us whether they do or whether they don't want to be annexed.
This map points out the areas that are up for annexation. When asked if he expects any opposition to the proposal, Mayor Briggs said yes, but not as much as he experienced over the last annexation attempt.
Do you expect that much opposition this time around or not?
I expect some opposition, yes. I expect some that will not be opposed to it. A decision will be made by the council, not by me, by the council, whether or not we annex any or all of those areas, or some part of those areas. Annexation is a normal growth of any city. This is nothing more than any other city does in a normal growth pattern.
A public hearing will be held on July 15th in City Council chambers, and it will be here where residents in the proposed annex areas will be given a chance to voice their opinions. Jim Oliver in Vidor, Channel 6 News.
Since our original stories aired, Golden Triangle residents and legislators raised such a furor over the administration of the new law that there have been some changes. Take, for example, 88-year-old William Reel. We told you earlier that he is paralyzed and cannot care for himself and needs 24-hour medical care. But he was one of those that was being forced out of a Beaumont nursing home under the new statute. But after some pressure, the State Human Resources Department and Department of Health admitted that he does need the medical care and are allowing him and others like him to remain where they are. But now, evidently, there's a new problem with the state law. As we told you, it was designed to allow people who didn't belong in nursing homes to stay in an alternate care situation, like a boarding home. And it would reportedly save taxpayers money because the state would not have to pay as much for their care. Nursing homes, however, say that they have just seen the proposed standards for these alternate care facilities, and they tell Channel 6 News that if approved, once again we'll be seeing patients who need medical care put in facilities where there is none. Tonight on The Update, we'll take a look at this latest controversy over the new law. Nursing home administrators we spoke with say they thought that alternate care for the elderly was supposed to be for those residents who did not need nursing care, senior citizens who only needed minor supervision. But when they read the new proposals for alternate care pilot projects that will be coming soon, they say they were shocked. These alternate care facilities are not required to have any medical or nursing personnel on staff. But according to the proposals, patients with medical needs will be treated. For example, elderly residents who require catheterization will be allowed in these boarding-type homes, but there doesn't have to be any qualified nurse to administer the catheters or care for them. If your relatives need care for bed sores or other sterile dressings, or special shots or medications, or special diets, there doesn't have to be any qualified nurse to administer these.
Our fear is that people, who need nursing home care will not get it. I don't think there will be a freedom of choice, probably. I think that patients will be assigned either to some form of alternate care or to a nursing home.
Nursing home administrators say some alternate care facilities will attempt to provide qualified nursing care for their residents, but say when they bring in outside nurses, this will shoot up the cost of patient care. And they point out that this is defeating the purpose of the new law, which is supposed to save taxpayers a lot of money. We spoke to Senator Carl Parker about these alleged problems with alternate care, and he agreed with nursing home administrators. The senator said his initial reaction is that those who implement these new standards will be violating the Nursing Practices Act. This law requires a qualified nurse, for example, to administer special medications. The senator added that these standards are just proposals and that his office will be monitoring them closely. We'll monitor them too, and we'll let you know of any new developments.
During the meeting of the trustees of the South Park Independent School District, the results from the Texas Assessment Test of Basic Skills show students in the district's predominantly black schools scored lower on mathematics, reading, and writing tests. The test results indicate only 37% of the ninth graders at Hebert High, which is mostly black, could solve mathematics problems, 39% mastered reading objectives, and only 48% mastered writing. At Forest Park, which is mostly white, 85% mastered math, 90% mastered reading, and 83 mastered writing objectives. Wilson Trahan, Assistant Superintendent for Instruction and Personnel, says lower test scores at Hebert could result from problems with family stability.
But I think it's a historical fact and widely known that, generally speaking, children who come from educationally deprived environments score lower on tests. It's a result of many things: the socioeconomic status, the amount of educational, cultural background that the child experiences in his home and in the community. And that's independent of race. It applies to all socioeconomic people.
However, South Park School Board member Dr. Richard Price strongly disagrees.
I think the test scores being as low as they are indicates that there are some serious problems with instructions at Hebert's High School.
We are teaching at the same level. The teachers at Hebert and South Park are just as good as the teachers in Forest Park.
The administration of the district will have to bear some responsibility in neglecting to maintain the quality of instructions at Hebert as they have been able to maintain, and not only that, but to enhance the quality of instructions still where the student body is predominantly white, shows that the district has to bear some responsibility for what is happening in these all-black schools.
Mario Gomez, Channel 6 News.
If you live, work, or just pass through Bridge City and decide to stop and pick up a few groceries, and you pick up a telephone, you'll hear this sound. Well, that will all be changed, because tonight here at the switching office, what phone company officials call open heart surgery will be going on. Here in the switching station is the life support system of phone service for some 4,000 Bridge City patients. This is the heart of the system, the ringing supply. It pumps out dial tone, busy signals, and the ringing. An operation is scheduled for midnight that will bypass the old ringing to a new sound and also correct a money malfunction.
We will go into what we call a solid-state ringing machine. This is it right here. These are the old ringing machines. They are motor-driven, just like you might say on your car generator. There's quite a bit of maintenance on these. We maintain these machines weekly. We have to do routines on them. That's where we take the covers off of them and check our contacts, or transfer the machines from the regular machine to the emergency machine. This machine here will do as good as the old type ringing machines, but in a way it cuts out all the maintenance that we have to do throughout the year.
Will that save money?
Yes, and dollar-wise it will save us quite a bit.
A maximum of $800 per maintenance exam will be saved. And Bridge City phone bills? They won't be any less, but they won't be any more either. From Bridge City, Wayne Sparrow, Channel 6 News.
Tonight's Contact 6 report takes us to Cousins Street in Beaumont to meet 19-year-old Kelly Santana and her son Jesse. At 22 months, little Jesse seems to be the picture of health. But in March, he spent 2 weeks at the Texas Children's Hospital undergoing surgery to correct genetic birth deformities. Kelly and her 18-year-old husband, Jesus, who earns $400 a month, have not been able to pay for that $4,000 operation. They have no insurance and are not able to get any for little Jesse. In October, the Santana baby will once again be under the surgeon's knife in an effort to help him lead a normal life. But the Santanas can't pay the first medical expenses, and under the circumstances are not sure the hospital will allow them to bring Jesse back for the necessary surgery.
I don't know. The doctors, we've already talked to them, and they suggest that he does have to have the surgery, and they will do this, but we don't know about the hospital. I don't know if he's even going to be able to get in with this bill or not.
Following our advice, Kelly contacted the Crippled Children's Fund and has applied for assistance. If that application is approved, the medical cost for the upcoming surgery will be taken care of. But the fund cannot pay the existing $4,000 bills. A trust fund to help defray these costs has been set up at First Texas Bank in Vidor. If you have a problem we can help you with, call us at Contact 6 at 892-6622.
What's going on?
All the fireworks stands you'll find are going to be outside the city limits because it's not only illegal to sell the fireworks inside the city limits, it's also illegal to possess them inside the city limits.
Of course, fireworks are illegal for a person without a permit to display or use them. This, of course, is in the City Fire Prevention Code. And there's two reasons why that. Of course, the main reason, of course, is it is a fire hazard. And, of course, all the fireworks display some type of fire or sparks that could ignite either the grass or some type of structure. So that's one of the main reasons involved in having such a code.
What about considering the drought conditions we're under recently? Is this a particular danger now?
It especially could be with such things as bottle rockets. If someone shot a bottle rocket into a dry area of grass or say a wooded area, it could present a problem as far as a forest fire or grass fire.
State law requires that any professional fireworks demonstrator must have the local fire chief's permission along with the approval of the state fire marshal. No one other than the professional is allowed to possess fireworks in the city limits. And the fire department will be particularly cautious during this holiday because of the severe drought conditions. If an individual is found in possession of fireworks, they can be confiscated and charges may be filed. At this fireworks stand just outside the Beaumont city limits, business has been slow. Whether or not the alleged recession is hitting the fireworks business is hard to say, but if you buy fireworks, take into account that all fireworks, even the smoke bomb, are illegal in the city limits. Be careful with your fireworks in the country, and do what you can to guard against fires. And most of all, make sure all fireworks are used under adult supervision. David Lowell, Channel 6 News.
Back in the mid-1950s, the people of Beaumont approved a bond issue providing for construction of new facilities at the Port of Beaumont. Included among those construction projects was Dock Number 5, used today for loading flour onto a Greek freighter bound for Egypt. The Port of Beaumont sign you see behind me was made in the late 1950s with monies and materials left over from construction on Dock Number 5. According to Public Information Officer John Roby, the original Port of Beaumont sign was situated at the edge of the Neches River, but a combination of erosion by the river and neglect on the part of port authorities allowed the sign to fall into a state of disrepair. In fact, it was only a year ago that the port undertook to relocate and repair the huge sign, which boasts an overall length of 208 feet, with individual letters 14 feet tall and 10 to 14 feet wide. Isaiah Johnson was foreman of the maintenance crew that moved each letter 2 feet up the bank, replacing broken blocks and planting new sod around the letters. He was also a member of the original crew that completed the sign in the spring of 1958. Are you happy to see this displayed prominently again and taken care of?
Yeah, because it looked nice, shows up the port, yeah.
The sign is visible from more than a mile downriver today, welcoming sailors from the world over as they round the last bend of the Neches River before landing at the Port of Beaumont. Albert Zipp, Channel 6 News.
And if you're looking for some damage, the yellow sign which says Castle Motel on it has just been